Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our next live session. I'll be your producer for our session, but before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenters to answer. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Microsoft Reactor channel. With that, I'll turn it over to our speaker for today. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of our GitHub Copilot CLI hands-on series. First of four, we'll be here Tuesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Friday again next week, which is super exciting. I am Renee Noble, and I'm joining you from the Bidjigal lands of the Darug people. And if you want to say, if you're joining from Australia and want to let us know what Aboriginal lands you're joining from in Australia, that'd be great. Or wherever you're in the world, we'd love to know where you're joining from too. So jump in on the chat there. I am a senior developer advocate at GitHub, and super excited to be talking about this GitHub Copilot CLI beginners course that we will be working through in this series, which I had the pleasure of creating along with Dan Whalen, who is also doing this series a lot in the US/European time zone. So for the person who's joining at 2 a.m. Eastern time, thanks for being here. You can also join at another time if you really want to. Very excited to be here. I'm also very excited to have Aaron here. Give us a quick intro, Aaron.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Renee. Thanks for having me. And as it says there on the title card about that point of the screen, my name's Aaron. I also work as in the DevRel team at GitHub. I'm also based in Sydney. I think I'm in Gadigal land. I think that's the right one. It's fun that we're both in Sydney, but neither of us are in the same location. We're just like, let's just do this from our houses. Why go
houses, which are not far apart, but are in different lands, which is exciting.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, like I'm here to help out Renee. I'm here to keep an eye on chat as well. So if you've got questions as we're going through the session, pop them in there. I might throw some curveball questions at Renee as she goes along to this. But yeah, I'm excited to be on this journey with you.
Excellent. Thanks so much for being here, Aaron. Also, I will highlight that Aaron is like the owner, basically, of Awesome Copilot. So if you've been enjoying Awesome Copilot, you can just like throw questions at Aaron in the chat. And I will, especially in episode 2, probably be asking Aaron some questions about how you can get cool agents and other stuff, because it does come up throughout the course, how you could get some community agents or skills. So really cool to have Aaron along for this part of the journey as well. But without further ado, let's get along and talk about what we are going to be doing. So we are, of course, going through the GitHub Copilot CLI beginners course. It does say beginners in it, but what it means is anyone who's new to the CLI. You don't have to be new to coding. It's got stuff for developers of all levels of experience. So excited to have you all along here. You can do this all in either your terminal, like native to your computer, or in VS Code terminal. I'm going to show it in my terminal today, just to show you that you can use it wherever you are currently using terminal, basically. So it's very portable to have Copilot CLI installed on your computer, which is exciting. But you will need a couple of things to come along for this journey if you are planning to play along at home. So you're going to need a GitHub account with Copilot access. This includes the free tier, which does give you access to Copilot CLI for some number of interactions. You'll need access to a terminal. You'll need to have the CLI installed and be logged into Copilot in your terminal as well. You can check out how to set all of this up in chapter 0 of the course. And we do have 2 links here to the course. We actually have 2 versions of the course. It's the same course in 2 places, depending on how you want to look at it. We have the one that is on Awesome Copilot. Shout out to Aaron for getting it hosted in Awesome Copilot alongside all of these other cool Copilot resources. And you can check it out here. But as part of the course and part of this, like through both, whether you're following along on Awesome Copilot or you are going straight to the repo, which you can see here, you will need to clone this course, because throughout the course, you will be interacting with some samples that we have provided earlier and building on them across the series. So we'll have some projects in here that you improve your interactions with as a developer as you learn more about agents and skills and MCP servers and everything. So yeah, head on over to those links. Thanks, Aaron, for putting those in the chat so you can get a copy of those and follow along.
I'll just say that so that while the 2 links are actually essentially the same material, it's just whether you want to go through the GitHub repo. Obviously, that has like an experience where you're reading the rendered markdown and that kind of stuff. Whereas the website one on Awesome Copilot is we literally take the same content and then just render it in a website using Astro. So it's I actually use CLI to convert it from the repo into Awesome Copilot and to Astro, but it's the same content. So don't feel like if you do one, you're going to be missing out on something. It's just more, what is your preferred manner of reading on it?
Yes, thank you, Aaron, for that clarification. Same stuff. This one looks more like a website, which I enjoy personally. But of course, we do get all of our stuff. And when we have links in here to specific files, we'll show you them in the actual repo. So yes, they are best friends with each other, which is great. Cool. Jumping along to what we're going to cover in today's session. So we're speeding through 2 chapters of the course today. Chapter 1, which is on getting started and understanding the different modes. So what can you do with it, generating code explanations and doing code reviews, as well as learning what different ways we can interact with the CLI. And then chapter 2, we're adding context and working with like a whole file system, and then kind of understanding how our conversations work, as well as a new feature that dropped yesterday, which we have already put into the course. So the course is like coming out hot and ready. The course is only about 4 weeks old, but we're getting new stuff in it all the time, including the stuff on remote sessions and how you can use your web browser to interact with Copilot CLI, which is pretty exciting. So that's all really exciting. I should also note that you can do this course in Python, JavaScript, or C#. If you have any C# questions, they're going to Aaron. They're not for me. I'm a Python developer advocate, but luckily we have a ride along today. But hopefully Copilot CLI will be able to handle any of your C# specific questions so that I don't have to.
Yep.
Okay, let's get started on chapter 1 then. We're going to talk about, what we can do with Copilot CLI. So I'm going to jump across to my terminal. As I said, you can use VS Code terminal or your actual just native terminal to your computer. I do apologize if this is quite bright on your screen, but it is best practices to use. I have not realized that when I copy from my speaker notes, it actually draws attention to I could have typed this as well, to the slide deck. So that's going to be fun. Oh, dear. Okay, cool. So we have written Copilot into the terminal. which is great. And then it's going to ask me, do I trust this folder? So always good to be checking what it is giving you in these prompts to say, yes, you can use that tool. Yes, you can access these files. So we're going to go ahead and say, yes, you can do this. And now we are now in what we call the interactive mode of GitHub Copilot CLI. And we're able to have a back and forth conversation here. So for like getting started, we can ask for, how do I write an if statement in Python, or whatever you want to have there, your basic question answering, asking things, all possible to do in here. Great. So we've got some cool things and some good points about what not to forget, like the colon, etc. So you can really ask anything in here for like best Python practices, 5 top tips, something like that. Which can, help us, get quick answers without leaving our terminal to like do a web search or something.
I'm just going to jump in. So let's just have a look at some of the things that you're seeing also in the UI. Obviously, we've got the response coming back and forth from Copilot, but if we scroll right back at the top, we kind of had, we've got the little bit of the little Copilot there that's blinking at us and stuff like that at the top.
Thank you.
It's giving us some like insights on what we can do. So we've got things like slash commands. It's telling us about like there's like the slash MCP. I know that's the stuff that we'll cover off later in there. But then down the bottom where we've got our text box, we'll see that there's things like modes, again, stuff that we're going to come across later, the location that the terminal or the CLI session is running in. So that's how you kind of know, I guess, what context you're scoped to. So it's not running it like slash in your machine, and it doesn't kind of have the ability to do rm-rf on slash and stuff like that. Like this is where you've given it permissions to operate in. And then our model, that's the we can see that we're using you're using Claude Opus for this across there on the side. And then like I said, we've got modes and stuff that we'll cover off later on. So that's just, I guess, some of the additional information that we're seeing popping up with inside of this that is more than just the raw conversation that you're having with Copilot.
That's true. It's giving us a lot of hints. And yes, so this is a folder that I have specifically said, hey, I want to be inside this folder, my live stream folder. And then actually I'm going to CD inside of my beginner's course that's actually in here, which is called, I guess we're going to have to do an LS because I'm like, what have I named you this time? I've got a lot of copies of this course cloned on my computer, going to say. So we can do all of our normal commands in here as well as interacting. Copilot CLI beginners. There we go. Let's change into that.
I'll give you a tip on that.
Yes.
So you just typed ls. And then you'll notice immediately underneath that it said the user wants to see a directory listing. So what's happened there is Copilot has interpreted that like from the prompt and figured out what you want to do. If you did exclamation point first,
thank you.
Shell mode.
So now you'll see that this is a real game changer for me, honestly. I'm just like, I wish they had that feature, but they do. So now I can CD into this, which we go. And have tab complete, seemingly. Maybe.
No, I'll give you another tip with autocomplete there. So just hit escape and pop off that. So escape will clear the input that you're going through, so you don't have to like control C or anything like that. If you shift tab back into just your normal chat mode and then do /cd, so execute it as a slash command, and now you can do space and it's going to list off all the directories you can navigate through.
This is beautiful. The things you don't know. I wrote a whole course and I didn't learn these basic like quality of life features. So this is good. Let's go in there, and we've all learned something today, and it's going to be terrific going forward because I'm just like, it really takes a long time to list things. But I know if I was just in my regular channel, this wouldn't be a problem, and it's not a problem. Cool. But now we can see that I am, in fact, in the directory that we want to be in for interrogating our different files that we have as part of this project. So excited. I'm very excited about all these features that I didn't know about. Great. Okay, let us have a look at understanding some code as well. So let's have a look at what we can do to maybe get some context on what the project is in this folder that we've got. So we've got something called book app project / book app.py. We can ask it, let's say, before we ask it for quality issues, what is it? Is the project. It has review at the front, but let's see what it does. It might review it. It might do what is the project. It's because I'm now going off book from my speaker notes, which will keep changing the focus of my shared window, which is suboptimal. Cool. Okay, great. Cool. We can see that we have a book collection that has a bunch of different statuses for our books, handles validation, and it's a beginner-friendly project. So great, that's what it does.
So with the prompt that you wrote, I noticed that you had some symbols. Like you had like an @ symbol in there. What did that do?
Yeah, that is
Am I jumping
part of the next slide deck, like next section of it. But this is targeting a specific file here. Saying, hey, can you look at samples, the directory, book app project, the directory, and specifically at bookapp.py. So we can look at that. What is this project about? And that's given us that, context on that to have a look through. So we could also look at the whole file level, which we will get to in the next chapter as well. But this part, right now we're just like, what can we do with the thing? But I am aware that they have a bunch of stuff that is like preloaded. That's just like, just accept this for now, and it's gonna be fine. And I feel like everyone kind of hopefully gets the @ a little bit. Like it's like adding someone in your DMs or on Instagram or wherever you @ people these days. So we can continue to @ things. For instance, let us do the review that I reworded before. So at the same file, we want to check for code quality issues and suggest improvements. So while it does that, I'm going to jump over to the actual file of this, just so we have like a quick look at this before, like otherwise we're just kind of operating in a black box or a white box in this instance with all of my screens being high contrast at the moment for the stream. But we can see in here we have bookapp.project. We've got a couple of files. So we've got these models, like these data classes in here. We've got our CLI kind of server of sorts, somewhere that directs to the different functions for our books. And things like that. Some JSON that stores our very thorough collection of 5 books. We really need it to keep track of the 5 books that we own, and some utilities and things like that. So that's what's going on in here, and as well as having some other things like our book app buggy code. So if you want to do a review on some buggy code, that's in one of the exercises in chapter 1, and you can have a look at that and see what bugs you might be able to fix with GitHub Copilot. Cool. So we can see that it's done some sort of checklist thing, which is quite interesting. So you might be like, why did it do all these checklists and they fail and they pass? And that's like a really specific thing for it to have done. And we will talk more about that in episode 3, but I will do a very quick jump over to the skills section over here, where we have this thing called code checklist and has skill.md in it. And you can see in here, it has a bunch of checklist items, which are the same things that are appearing in our checklist that's just come up for our review that we've just done. So that's super useful. We can, as you can see, it's like pretty easy for you to give human readable language things that have a checklist that help you convey what you or your team always does when you do a code review or something like that. So you can convey all that context to Copilot CLI, which is super helpful to be able to chuck that skill in there. And we will talk more about how you can use existing skills, add community skills, or create your own skills in episode 3. Okay, cool. Let us go along to, I guess let's have a quick look at this. So we've got a bunch of different stuff that it's been able to do here. which includes checking for all the things that we've said in that checklist. But it's also then being able to prioritize of the things that it's noticed, what are the most important things, like the high priority things, like missing type hints. We want to get on top of those type hints for Python because that's a really great feature we should be taking advantage of that helps prevent bugs. And input validation, we want to make sure we're not mishandling incoming data, both for data cleanliness, but also for data security. So I've got a bunch of different things that we could look into how to make these improvements. So why don't we go ahead and let it make some improvements. So let's add some tests. Add the tests for the CLI. And we're able to generate this code, which is really cool. Yes, if you have any questions so far, please do add them in the chat as we go along. And I'm happy to do stuff as we go.
Someone did have a question about the CLI have a plan mode. Now, I remember from the slides you said that we're going to be covering modes off later. So
yes, we are.
Okay. Shall we leave that as you? You got to stick around.
Let's leave that one for about 8 minutes time. Yeah, I reckon. Cool. Okay, we can see that our code has been generated for a bunch of tests, which is really awesome. So I'm going to go, I'm like, okay, cool. I've had a look at that. That all looks great.
And what I think is really cool here is that, so not only has this done as a diff view, so we can see imagine if we were editing files as well as not just creating, we'd probably see line removals and stuff like that. So you are still seeing that code. It's not just, dumping stuff in and you never saw it and all of a sudden you've deployed that production, you don't know what's happening. You still see that code here. And then I noticed there was that series of at the bottom of this, it's asking you what you want to do with it. Are you happy with that? Do you want it to never bother you about code, or do you are there things you want to suggest to improve?
Yeah, we could say something like, no, I don't want to use PyTest. I want to use one of the other Python testing frameworks, for instance, or something like that, and make it do it again, or say, oh, we should have examples that are all about cats because that's really important to me as a developer, that all the books in the examples are about cats or something. So we could do all manner of things here. We could say we're all good with all things like this, all of the code, just we don't need permission to do it, but I'm not a huge fan of that one, especially for, as Aaron said, when you generate code, it's really nice to be able to see that. That's something I do really like about Copilot CLI. And there's so many different Copilot options these days, but something I enjoy about this is we having this kind of back and forth and here's all the stuff, which is a different kind of mode of operation than if you're using Copilot chat in VS Code, where you kind of get the changes in your browser. So just in terms of how you ingest those changes, this is something that works for me, which I think is really nice. For now, because we don't have heaps of time, I'm going to accept these changes, which I have definitely thoroughly read, which is cool. And we can run them. Yeah, why not run them while we are here, which is cool, and see how it goes. Yes, we would like to run PyTest. Thank you.
And these kinds of pop-ups where it's suggesting do you want to run PyTest, or do you want to review code? You can set rules around what you might want to auto approve. So maybe you do want it just to automatically run tests on your behalf. So you can configure CLI to not ask you if you want to run PyTest, because you're like, no, I'm going to trust that if you're running Python 3-M PyTest, well, the point is to run tests, and I've reviewed the test code, so I don't need to do that kind of double approval. But it depends what level of control, I guess, you really want to have. Right now, Renee's got it configured in a way where she's in 100% control, approving every single step of the way when Copilot needs interactions back from the human in the loop side of things.
Yeah, and I'm a control freak, and I love that about me, maybe. But yeah, you can set it up for what works for you and your team, and any restraints and constrictions you have on your team's requirement for things. So yeah, we'll be able to do a bunch of stuff with that, which is, have we run the test now? There's a lot of green dots. So all the tests passed. Here we go. All 21 tests passed. That's great. Cool. Let us move on to, I think we'll do the next slide now. Back to my slide deck. Cool. Now we get to talk about modes. So thanks for asking in the chat. We are going to talk about the planning mode. We have 3 modes we're going to talk about today. We've been using interactive mode so far, where we've had that back and forth. So we've got this nice analogy where, we are working on how to get food. Interactive mode, you can have that interaction with the waiter and see like, oh, what are today's specials? And can I get that without the mayo and things like that? For planning mode, it's more about working out in advance how we're going to go about doing this. It's like, oh, well, maybe we need to pick up our friend on the way to the restaurant. And like, we want to look at the restaurant menu in advance and all of these steps. And what we get in terms of using Copilot for that is that we improve the results by saying, okay, we are summarizing essentially what we need to do in these steps. And we're able to interact with that plan before we go ahead and build out everything that we are going to build from the plan. So this is really useful if you're building a larger project, especially where there are a lot of moving parts and it's going to firstly take longer to generate or work on that code or work on those amendments to your code. But also in terms of having a small set of context that the Copilot CLI can go back to and like, okay, next step of the plan, this is what we're generating. This is how it interacts with everything else. That's really why it's great to have a plan mode available. And after we talk about plan mode, we're going to talk about programmatic mode, which is like the drive-through of getting food. You can make straight from your terminal. So kind of the opposite of what we were doing when I was like, how do I be able to do ls or cd within Copilot? This is the opposite. I'm in my regular terminal. I haven't dropped in to Copilot interactive mode, but I might want to make a quick request to Copilot without having to enter the full interactive mode. So we'll talk a bit more about the speedy way we can do that after we talk about plan mode. So let's jump back to over here. Cool. Come on. Okay. Computer is not happy with me today. That's okay. I've got too many screens up. That's okay. So let us talk about plan mode. I don't know why that keeps happening. Stay here. And we are going to /plan to get to plan mode. So there are a couple of ways to get to plan mode. Another one is you can just write when you are going. So we're in our regular terminal and we're just doing Copilot to start up Copilot. If you're like, I really want to get to plan mode, you can do Copilot -- plan. You're like, I need to get to plan mode. We'll get there. Or we can use Shift Tab to change different modes as well. And we'll talk about Autopilot in just a minute as well. Cool. So we're in plan mode. We've got there through the Shift Tab option right now, but use whatever you like. And then we can say plan, or I guess I don't need to write plan because I'm in here. You can also just say plan in your normal mode. /plan, let's do that for purposes of showing everything. Add a mark as read command to the book app. So
I'm a huge fan of plan mode, particularly like when you're. I actually prefer it a bit more than in the standard interactive mode when I'm trying to figure something out, because so ultimately we can see it's kind of starting to spew some stuff out on the screen, but like it ends up producing a document at the end that you can review, or as we've got here. Or actually, why don't you talk about what's just popped up now on screen?
Yeah, so we can actually it will ask us questions as we go along. So we get to inform the plan rather than go like, don't worry, I know everything. I will just tell you how your book app should be. It's like, actually, I don't know. I'm kind of a tool to help you. So it's going to ask us, should the mark as read command show the list of books first so users can see what's available, or just prompt for a title directly like the other commands do? And I'm going to say, let's show the list of books because I'm going to forget what books I have and what I've just read, apparently. And maybe it'll remind me what I should read while I'm there. What I should read next now that I've just read one.
Yeah, and like that, for me, that's what I kind of like about it is it's a lot more of us are working remotely, and this is the kind of thing you'd normally be sitting down and brainstorming with your peers. But like both of us, we work in teams where the majority of our peers are not online. So you have Copilot as that kind of rubber duck almost, or that back and forth conversation, but it's going to ask you questions and maybe challenge ideas that you were initially coming up with to help refine it the same way as you might do with a peer to produce a plan of what you're going to do.
Yeah, and I think it helps with my brainstorming a lot for that exact reason, because like you can kind of be like, hi, I hadn't thought of that. Oh yeah, that's a good different angle. So yes, especially when like a lot of our colleagues are not online because they're asleep because we're in Australia and they're in the US or the UK. So yeah, no, it's super helpful for that. So it has come back with our plan, which is great. And so it's got an approach of what it's going to do to wire up the existing book collection. It's got some files it's going to change. It's going to have what the UX shows. So the UX looks like that. So showing the book list first that it asked us about before. So that's in the plan now. And it's got the command that it's going to have as well. So we've got a few options here now as well. So we can see accept plan and build on autopilot recommended. And as I said, I was going to talk about autopilot in a minute. This is why. And then there's also exit plan. I will prompt it myself. So I have the plan now and I'm going to tell it how to do this. I might have some reasons for that potentially due to the infrastructure it's built on. Maybe
you want to do some artisanal coding and write it without AI.
Yes. Bespoke finger coded stuff. So yeah, lots of different reasons to do that. And then, or accept plan, build on default permissions, much like my positions are currently like, you got to ask me for everything. Or I could suggest changes to the plan, being like, oh, actually, I changed my mind about showing the book list first. That's, it can be like the rest of the stuff, and just have prompt for a title or something like that. So I've got all the different options. I'm not going to, in interest of getting to chapter 2 at the halfway mark, I won't go and actually build this today, but what we could do, Autopilot will go through and build it all itself. But we're going to escape to get out of that. But as I said, we've got that plan now. So if we want to go back and say, oh, I've got the plan, I'm going to actually come back to that tomorrow to build that out. And maybe I decide I do want to use Autopilot. I could then say, hey, look at that plan, which, we've got the plan in here in context in the memory.
You can, like at the top of the screen, you'll see that there's a link to a Markdown document as well. So that's persisted as part of this session that you're having with Copilot. So you can always open that up too.
In somewhere in here.
It's in your home directory.
Oh, it's in my home. Yes, it's not in this same location. That's okay. But yeah, it's there. So you've not lost the plan when you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to commit to the autopilot right now. I want to go and, have some shower thoughts about other things I want to include in the plan. And you can always come back if you're like, but I don't want to miss out on this autopilot opportunity. Don't worry, it's there. And you can later point autopilot at the plan if that's what you want to do, or you can do that artisanal coding yourself. So,
So this, if anyone is watching on there, they've heard people talk about PRDs. This is kind of down the route of doing a PRD or like a product requirements document. It's kind of like you basically might not be as advanced as some like dedicated PRD tools, but it can kind of get you along the way.
Yeah, and if you did have a like organization-wide like structure for your PRDs to look like this with these sections, you could provide that, as we showed earlier, with that skill for doing the code review, to having like, hey, and make sure the plan follows this structure that our company requires. So that could be useful too. Okay, let us jump across to programmatic mode now. Actually, while I'm in here, I'm going to show us, before I get out of here, out of interactive mode and into normal terminal where we can talk to interactive programmatic mode. We do have a couple of other helpful functions in here, such as help, super helpful / command. So these are our essential / commands. So if you need help, you can write help and then give it some, get some other stuff with other commands that you might want. So many commands available. So I'll let you peruse that in your own time, but we are looking, in fact, in these parts here. So we also have, we've done /plan, we've done /help. We also have clear. If you're like, I want a new session, I'm going to keep this one because we're still working on the same stuff. But you could also do model if we want to change the model, you could write out the model name here, or you can hit enter and then you can choose one from the list. We are on Claude Opus 4.5, and you might want to choose a different model because you are doing something that's more reasoning heavy or more tool usy. So choosing one for that, or choosing one based on the price point that works for you as well. And then also, I think my last one I wanted to mention was /research. If you want to kind of go deep dive in terms of kind of like planning, but gathering more information before you go out and build something, getting that like industry best practices or like looking into the latest in some new technology, you could do with /research as another one. Cool. But now, actually have another terminal here. Cool. Now back in our normal terminal, we can see that I'm here in my regular land. I'm writing just ls as you normally would. Very exciting to do that, but also exciting that I can now do that inside of Copilot CLI. So out here, we can do something like to interact with Copilot programmatic mode. We can do Copilot -p for programmatic. And then we could say, how do I read a JSON file in Python? And we're just like, I just need got an extra quote. Yeah, sure, we'll have many quotes. No, it's mad. Don't do that. Don't have too many quotes. Let's not type that out again. Okay, we got this. Okay, cool. And now without leaving our terminal to be like, oh, I just can't remember how to import the JSON library or whatever we need to do, Copilot can be like, yes, I've got your back here. Here's some code you could use to read JSON file. So we can import JSON and do these bits and pieces here. And it's got some key points as well, which is nice. These two, I think, is really good. JSON.load and JSON.loads, easily misunderstood, being so similar syntactically. So that's really helpful to be able to just get information like that, or write some code while we're just in here. Like that's already given us some code, which was nice, but we can like write a function that checks if a number is odd or even. Cool.
Don't you just install an NPM package for that?
Yeah, that's what I hear people in the JavaScript land love to do. We'll ask it how we can do some tabbing in from the left later and what's the best way to do that as well. And see if it wants to do left tab or if it wants to do padding left. We won't. People can do that at home if they want. Cool, but yeah, we can get a Python function that looks like this, and yeah, this is good. This is how you should work out if something is odd or even. You don't need NPM. You can do it yourself, everybody. I believe in you, especially with Copilot on your team. It's great. You too can know what the modulo symbol does. Cool, and it will even tell you what the modulo symbol does. So that's great. Cool. So that is how we can work with a programmatic mode. I will note something called allow all tools, because we could say, I'm not going to do it because it's going to take too long, but I could, and I don't know that I want to. We could say -- allow all tools, and then give it some prompt of like, build a whole web app for my new startup that does XYZ ABC. And then with allow all tools, you're saying, I'm giving you permission to do everything. Don't ask me for help. Do not ask me to give input. Do not ask me for permission to do things. So that's a thing that is built in that you have available to you. As you can see, I have it set up as a way that I'm a control freak and I give it permission for every single item. Because I like to really I want to be one with the metal of the computer, basically. So then know everything that's going on. But if you have something that's like, oh yeah, this can roam free, then that would be a good option for you. Do you have any thoughts on allow all tools, Aaron?
I prefer to do -- YOLO, which is actually it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that really truly just indicates what's going to happen.
It does. It does really sum up what it is. So yeah, you can write allow all tools if you're like, it's fine. And you can write YOLO if you're like, it's probably not fine. I don't know. We're fine. I don't mind. It's going to be okay. It's constrained within this realm of, my file directory. So I don't know that I'm going to run -- YOLO from my root directory, but to each their own. Cool. So we have had a look at our 3 modes now, with the bonus feature of the automatic mode, which is great. So let us go and take a look at chapter 2. So in chapter 2 of the course, we are talking more about context and that conversational element of it. So like what you keep within the conversation and like what that allows you to do. So let's jump across to targeting specific files and folders, which we've done a little bit on already, which is great, because we only have 22 minutes left to cram in another whole chapter. But that's okay because this is the short one. So we're jumping across to chapter 2. I will show you on the screen chapter 2. We are in context and conversation here, which is great. And we are going to start with just having let's just summarize the README. Cool.
You might want to be in a
I'm
Copilot.
in the wrong window. We're going back here. I might want to use the Copilot CLI that we're here to talk about today, maybe. Summarize at readme.md. Cool. We're going to do the top level one, not all of the READMEs, which are actually just the course content. So tell us about this. Hit enter.
So just as a random segue, something that I've done with my terminal setup is that I actually have so I use Windows and you can set up terminal profiles. I actually have a terminal profile for Copilot. So I don't even have to type Copilot. I just open up a new shell window and it is straight into Copilot. And that's actually how I learned about the /cd command, because you have to specify a working directory. And well, I don't want everything to start in the same location, but I get dropped to one location, then just /cd into wherever I need to be.
Nice. That's good. Yes. Well, I don't know what Mac options are available to me. Probably a similar one. When I was trying to work out how to turn this white background on, there was some things about profiles, so I could probably have that. Cool. So we've got our summary of this hands-on course, teaching GitHub Copilot CLI. Tick, that is what it does. And the audience is developers. That's you all watching, terminal users, and teams wanting AI-assisted workflows. All correct. And here's some prereqs, which we covered at the start of the show. So yeah, here are all the stuff that's covered, which is great. It's been, really easy to summarize that and kind of get a look at that, which is something I like about Copilot, is that when I'm new to a project or new to a file, like previously you'd have to read the whole file to try and understand what the general point of the file was, and then read the file to find the part that you wanted. But if I can say, hey, what does this file or this project do? Then I can, when I read through, find the part that I want to look at, rather than being wavy hands kind of feelings about what am I here for? Is this even the right file? So no, this is the right file. You found the right place. Here's what it does. And they're oh, now I know what to look for, because I'm oh, this is a React project, or this is the point of this file is it's the models for this data structure or something like that. So I find that super useful to get that context off the bat, rather than having to do multiple read-throughs. We've been able to at that file. So we'll see that command again, at README, which is just that was a really general one for this project. We can also go deeper and do, I've clicked on the thing again. Okay, let's stop touching the place that I thought I was going to get all of my copy paste from. And we're just going to have to write them in, explain what at samples/book-app. Oh, good. They have auto-completing. And we want, give me project, and then give me utils. Yes. So we're looking at the Python utils file, and we can say, what does it do? So we can target a specific nested file in our structure and get the lowdown on it as well. So yeah, as you saw, this was our, basic at something, much like you would do at Aaron Powell on Instagram or on LinkedIn or wherever you're doing your socializing these days. And then we get the context of all of the stuff in that file, because it really does help when you want to just like you're talking with a colleague, and you don't go up like, hey, I have a problem, I've got this error. It's just like, hey, I've got a problem, I've been working on this file, it's called bookappproject.py or whatever, and I've got this error. That's just generally more helpful if you are going to loop somebody in and try and get them to help you. Much like a colleague, you can also do that to the CLI. So general best practices for ever having a conversation with anybody is to provide context. Cool. So yeah, we've got here what the utils file provides. And it's a UI helper. So it's got things like printing the books out, printing the menu options. So just making it easy to interact with this book app that we've created that you solely interact through the CLI with. So this is where it's handling all that printing and input taking stuff. So that is how we talk to with a specific file, but we also want to be able to do cross-file intelligence to see many files in a project. So because there's a lot of stuff that like lives between the connections to files. So, within a file, we can fix syntax, we can check types. We might be able to do some tests for that specific file. You can make sure that your linting's all correct, things like that. But sometimes, you won't notice duplicated code if you only look at one file, or you might have a bug that only exists. Well, it exists, but you don't know it exists until you see that like you're not importing this file correctly into the other like module and things like that. So by giving some cross-file context, we can make that experience a bit better. Well, hopefully a lot better. So we can do things like not touch. We can do things like never touch the speaker notes or even scroll on them. It's a shame. So we can do explain. No, sorry. Let's just get the file folder. What folders we have available. Explain what the structure is of the project in and now we can choose, yes, that one, and then give us another slash, and we'll take samples slash, I don't know what's not auto-completing anymore, so I have concerns. It's also gone deep in terms of having the whole path, which is interesting. We'll just write samples. Come on. This is interesting that it is.
And this is how we know it's live.
That's it. It's because I did the starting slash, everybody. That was the problem. We love live. We love to live code. So book app project. Sure.
You forgot the app.
Thank you. That's why you got to bring a friend to your live streams, everybody. Otherwise, who knows what'll happen. And you won't learn how to do CD and LS. And let's go. Cool. So now we are looking at the whole folder because I'm not giving it a specific file like one of the Py files. We can see this is the whole book app project for the Python project, which is great. Now we can look through the whole thing, can see the tests that we wrote earlier, which is great, and give us a bit of the architecture in terms of the data, the helper functions, the presentation layer, the CLI commands, and the very important database that we have stored in this JSON file. So that's super helpful. We could also do something like, let me find. This one is too long to write. We saw how badly that went. So we're going to make sure that we are just going to commit to the, well, now it doesn't move the thing. That's really weird. Okay. I don't know. Now when I intentionally click on the thing, it will allow me to copy paste. So that's great. Okay, here we are targeting two files. So we've got @samples book project bookapp.py. So the bookapp.py file and the utils.py file. And I say, I see duplicate display functions, show books and print books. Help me consolidate these. So it's looking at two things, and I can now, it's going to ask me, which one do you like better? And I'm going to say I want the compact tick version. That's, let's say, the title by author. So let's get that one. And then it's going to get rid of one of them, and it's going to keep the other one. So now we'll get to see, as Aaron was saying before, we get that diff. So we're getting rid of this, and we are saying we're going to just use the other show books function that is in the other file over in the book app.
And we can see that's a diff where we've got some stuff that's being removed. So you can see like the full impact of those changes.
Yeah, so that one's it. So yes, when I practiced this, it did the opposite one. So we're going to have different things. But I guess it didn't ask me the first time I did this what I preferred in terms of what it looks like. So, you know, you get various levels of interaction. Sometimes it just knows what is best for you, and that's okay. So we're going to accept that one, which is great. I'll also note, while it thinks you can use like wildcard matching for finding the different files, it wants to run PyTest. Yeah, okay, while we talk, we can run PyTest, that's fine. So you can use wildcard matching. So if you had like, oh, I want to find all of the Python files and then make sure they have type checking. So I'm going to do like that asterisk.py or something like that to not have to specify individual files, but to get all of them. So there we can have a lot of different things like that, which are super helpful. But yeah, remember that you have like a limited context window. So like, don't put all of the files in there. And if you do end up with too much context, you can use the /compact command to get it to compact the things that it's already thought about with you, and then kind of move forward with less overwhelming amounts of context that it has. Cool. So it has done the tests, and it's made all the changes. All the tests passed. We love that. So yeah, that's been a great, successful deduplication effort there, which we love. Cool. I think that's all of the stuff we have on context. If you have anything else to add on context, Aaron, before we move on to continuing our conversations.
No.
Love it. Cool. Okay, let's make sure that, when we're done with our work for today, we might turn our computer off and put it away. But when we come back to it tomorrow, we don't want to have lost all of this great rapport that we've built with the CLI today, all of the context we've given it about everything we've been learning together. So I'm going to actually write exit, another / command. You can also use Control-C or Control-D to exit, but I'm going to use exit. And then we can rejoin this session. So one thing we can do is we can start right in Copilot, and we can do -- resume. We'll wait, and it's going to list all of the things. Yes, we trust this. Now I can see all of the stuff that we've been working on. So this one is just now when we started. I have said write a Python if statement. That's currently its name, which is cool. But we're gonna start that one. We're actually going to do /rename, and this is going to be called improve book app now. Except with misspelling, but that's fine. It can be misspelled. I like it that way.
I was going to say it's impover.
I might need to impover my spelling, but that's okay. So now we've renamed it to that. So I'm actually going to exit again. And now I can do Copilot resume again. And now this would be helpful because you might have multiple terminals running at once. You might have something from a week ago. They're like, I want to pick that back up now. So giving it a name that is readable rather than all of these different things, which I'm like, they don't make a lot of sense to me. This one, my import of my book app, that is the one that I want. If you just want to be able to continue the last thing that you were doing, you can do Copilot -- continue, and that will just throw you into the last one we were in. So that's also nice if you're like, I don't know what we called it, but it's the last one that was closed. So cool. That is all we have on rejoining sessions, but it's really helpful that we have that. Anything else we want to add there, Aaron, do you think?
No, I think that, like, yeah, I use that a lot as well, because, you know, if I constantly spin up sessions and then exit, or restart the terminal, and it's like, I hadn't finished what I was working on. So being able to jump back to it is pretty nifty.
Yeah, nice. I have some questions, I think, coming up.
There's one about, I was going to delegate to you about Conda environments. I think, like, that's like creating them with CLI. That's my interpretation of the question, at least.
Right. I don't use Conda, so I'm not going to be that helpful. Let me fully read the question. Like Conda, can we install Python packages under a repository, or do we call them workspace or environment? So I don't know exactly what you are looking for, but what I would do for installing stuff in a Python repo would be to use something like UV and a Python virtual environment together, which will help manage all the things that you want to install. And you can have Copilot CLI help you write that if you are new to UV. Previously, you might have used pip to install things, and UV is kind of like a nicer version of that, where you also include context about this is my project and here are the entry points and all these different bits and pieces, as well as the libraries and packages that you might want to install. So that would be my tip for people generally in Python. Okay, let us take a look. Oh, yeah, you go, Aaron.
There's another one about really working with really large files, and you kind of touched on that about using the /compact command to just compress down context. Ultimately, though, if you're going to have files that are like multiple files that are 10 plus megabytes that you're wanting to process, then you're going to need to look for a model that's capable of large context windows. There's kind of just no way getting around it. Or like, because there's like Copilot itself doesn't understand the entire file until it's read the entire file to know how to kind of manage it. So yeah, if you just got exceptionally large files, like maybe like large data sets or something, then yeah, you're probably wanting to look at a model that is capable of dealing with really large context windows.
Yeah, 100% agree on that. No, nothing to add there. Cool. Let us jump onto our last topic, which is our hot off the presses remote sessions, which is pretty exciting. So let us jump to back to here. And then we can start by doing -- remote. Sorry, I'm actually going to, I get to use the thing that I learned earlier, cd / remote project. No, I needed to do something else to get the autocomplete. Remind me, Aaron.
Right. It's a / command.
Command. That's
so
right.
The different, so you can do cd from there, but what that doesn't do is it doesn't change the context of Copilot. It changes the underlying working directory, but Copilot itself is still running out of the original directory that you're in. So yeah, it's like, do I want to execute something at the shell level, and then the results just come straight back to, they get added to Copilot's context. So doing like shell command cd changes the adds to the context window that you want to go to the other location, but you don't actually move Copilot across. At least that's been my understanding of how that works.
That's what I'm noticing here, because I've gone CD where I am currently in Copilot for CLI beginners, but doing CD, I see both of these as options, so I must be at that top level to see both of them.
Well, yeah, because you remember you exited out, and then that
I exited so many times.
Yeah. It doesn't change your parent shell where you've come from.
Yes, that makes sense. All right, let us enter here. Okay, cool. We're in the new folder. We are also saying we trust this one as well, because I wrote this / I generated this with the CLI just before this, because it is hot off the presses, added to the course overnight. And we woke up, it's like, oh, there's new stuff in the course. I'm going to update the slides. So let us have a look at this new feature. So I'm in my new folder, which is a really, really basic project that we can look at with the remote feature. So this is going to let us be able to access, leverage our Copilot CLI instance from a web browser, which is really cool. So I'm going to start by writing -- remote. No, sorry, it's / remote. And then we can open this in the browser, which is really cool. So let me grab this across here. And as I said, you'll need to have the GitHub CLI installed in addition to the GitHub Copilot CLI for this, because it does need to interact with your GitHub account. And then this is my improved book app session, improved book app session, which we are now using for this remote demo project. And we can see everything that we've already been doing in here, which is really cool. But we can also do new stuff in here as well. So I'm going to say, what is this remote demo project about in here? And then I'm actually going to split screen this here. And we can see that it's actually thinking over here what, like I've given it a prompt. It's going to think over here. Been talking for too long now. And then it's going to send it over to our remote instance of Copilot CLI that's running. So you do need to keep this running whenever you want to be able to use it from the web browser. But this web browser thing, you don't need to use it on the same computer. If I logged into Aaron's computer on my GitHub account, then we'd be able to access it there. I could do it on my phone. Basically, any way you can sign into GitHub on your account. I have, before the session, signed into GitHub on the terminal. And then, yeah, it's all good to connect up and be able to talk to that. So we have also, what is this project about? It's a simple task tracker web app designed for demoing GitHub Copilot CLI remote. Great. That is exactly what it is. These are all of the files that it has. And yeah, we could also then ask it, let's add due dates to the tasks for this task tracking app. While it does that, I'll show you how small this app is and how we can build out this app. Where is it? Here. Cool. So it currently looks like this. We're adding a task to it, so we could like write email, do live stream, learn how to spell very high. Cool, but there are no due dates, so on this yet. But with the CLI operating in remote mode now from Copilot, I've been able to say, hey, do some work for me on my local computer in my terminal from whatever I've logged into GitHub with. So we can see it's coming up here and it's going to come up here as well. I do need to allow it to give me these styles. And it will continue to add all of these bits and pieces to our app to make it extra beautiful and extra functional. Now we'll have, 4 features like, add with a name and a date and a priority, so many things. So we can allow all of these things. Obviously, I've read these all thoroughly in my very important, definitely production grade web app that is just a JavaScript app that runs in locally. And we can add all these to add the due date.
And it's just important to note, so this remote stuff, like Renee mentioned before, it literally was released yesterday. So consider it still very experimental. There's going to be some rough edges. So it is like 24 hours old. So this is probably the first live stream that's been done on it. So you're seeing it first, sort of thing. Everyone who's joined us today.
Pretty cool, I think. And I think it'll be really handy for things like, I don't know, I run a meetup. We're always good at keeping on top of making new events on Luma, which is the platform we use. What we're bad at is updating our website to have the new links. So if I'm like, oh, I've forgotten again, copy that link to my remote terminal. Hey, please update the website to have all of the events. That would be pretty handy to be able to do it on the fly when I'm just on my phone. So yeah, we can see we've now added all, we have our due date for the task as well. So I guess I'll go and I will refresh the page to see all of our new features. And it's really good CSS from this hot fix we've made here. But we can now have our due date as well with that little drop down thing. And I better learn to spell this week. So we can add that task. Great, cool. That's pretty cool. A little CSS tweak, but it's pretty good for hotfix from your phone, I reckon. So that's all we've got for this session. on Friday, we'll be back and we'll be talking through Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. This is talking about developer workflows and how you can use the CLI to review, refactor, debug, test, and use Git integrations as well with Copilot CLI. And then we're going to get into like some juicy stuff, which is how to use agents with Copilot CLI, add agents, leverage built-in agents, and get community agents from awesome Copilot. So yeah, we'll be back on Friday for that. Until then, we haven't covered all of the content in Chapter 1 and 2. There's still more examples you can cover at home. And as I said earlier, there is an assignment section for each chapter of the course that build up over the course. So highly recommend going and doing assignments for Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 as well. And of course, sign up for the rest of the stream series at this link here. So we can see you again on Friday and then again on Tuesday and Friday again. Yeah, that is all we have for today. Anything to add, Aaron?
Nope. I think we've given everyone plenty of homework for a couple of days before they come back and join us on Friday.
Amazing. Yes, Aaron will be back with me on Friday. Looking forward to seeing you all then, and have a good day, night, or whatever time, morning for some of you who joined at 2 a.m. Catch you all on Friday. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's stream. Like our presenter said, we have another session coming up on Friday. I did drop the link to the series page in the chat, so please feel free to register, save your seat. We will be waiting for you right here on the Microsoft Reactor channel, same time, same place. And I am just dropping a QR code right here on the screen. If you could just take a couple of minutes, give us your feedback about today's session, we would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday. And like Renee said, Tuesday and Friday again next week. Thank you so much for coming today. We'll see you soon. Thank you.